Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in. Um, what I want to talk about today is basically a part two to what I did yesterday. Um, in addition to what you heard or what I spoke about yesterday, there's a little bit more to the story. So I figured because I feel comfortable and I'm glad to know everybody, um, I'll go ahead and discuss the other part. When I was coming up as a small child, they're not here to defend themselves, but that's not the point. I hope they'll overlook that I'm mentioning this, but both of my parents were alcoholics. And I grew up around that environment. I saw the ins and outs of it. I know what it can do. Um, my mother, on my 16th birthday, October 31st, 1990. She had a can of beer in her hand. She goes to open it. She takes it and sets it down on the counter. She looks at me. She said, "Steve, that's my gift to you. I quit drinking." To that day, from that day forward, she never touched another alcoholic beverage of any type, wine, beer, nothing of the sort. Um, my dad had quit drinking a few months prior to that. So 1990 was a lot was happening in 1990. They quit drinking. The birth of my oldest nephew, that happened. So I grew up around alcoholics from small up until the time I was 16. It's not a pretty picture because the alcohol made them do stupid things. What do I mean by that? It caused them to get into arguments, it caused them to get into physical fights. There were many a night, mornings that I had to go to the hospital and wait in the waiting room at the ER for them to get sewn up or one thing or another. I mean, they would literally fight like cats and dogs and they would do physical harm to each other. So I had to deal with that. Then I had to go to school the next day, lack of sleep. Then I had to put up with classmates calling me names because of my face, which, keep in mind, I didn't ask for this. The good Lord give me this condition, and believe you me, as a grown up, I have made the best of it. Um, in addition to being called names while I was in school, you can add being bullied to that as well. So that didn't help the matter any. Um, did that affect my studies in school? Yes, very much so. It was at the point that I would be in class and I'm falling asleep at my desk. Then the teacher would have to wake me up. And, it had an effect on me, especially that year. Um, but, I had this is just things that I did not have to deal with or would I want any child to experience. Um, then in addition to that, another thing that happened to me that I didn't ask for. I think we're all allowed at some point in our lives because it comes with the territory. I think we're all allowed to be a kid, but in the case of my sister's boyfriend, I might as well just come out and say it. For a short time, I was being beat up on top of that. That didn't help things with what I was already dealing with at the time. So basically, more or less, what it's done for me is even though I'm a 47-year-old male, on a chronological level, you're probably talking to somebody who's in their mid 50s to give you an idea. Because everything I've had to do from a small child, I basically had to pretty much defend for myself. Um, I had to act older than what I was. Sometimes I feel like my childhood was robbed of me to a certain extent. So all it did is it made me grow up mentally faster. But there is sort of a positive side to all of that. So, with all of what was going on with me at the time, the only thing I had to run to that was a comfort zone that I knew would not hurt me, it would comfort me, it would make me feel good, it would bring me some sort of happiness. Music. I went to the music. That's what I had. Um, I knew that it couldn't hurt me. It was, you know, beneficial to me at the time. So, in that respect, all it did is I became extremely knowledgeable in music, meaning that I can listen to just about anything and I know a lot about it. My musical tastes are very eclectic. I'm not really up on modern music, primarily because originality has gone out the window. There is no originality anymore when it comes to music. Um, the 80s was a phenomenal decade. That's primarily that was the time frame that all of this was happening. The 80s was a phenomenal time for music. The music was great. I do remember a little bit of the 70s, even though I was a small child at the time, a baby. Um, but then when I was around 13, I decided to, look into the older music, the 60s, the 50s, um, which I did. I've come to enjoy it, and I still do. Uh, I think the decade of the 1950s is phenomenal. It's my favorite decade. It always will be, always has been. But as time went on, as I got a little older, I started to go a little bit further back in music. So I figured, why not? Let's check out big band. Got into some of that. Um, even your 30s. Glenn Miller, Woody Herman. Let's see, who am I leaving out? Woody Herman, Glenn Miller. Let's see. I can't think of his name, but that's just the Andrews Sisters. That's another one I wanted to throw in there. Artie Shaw, I believe, is another one. There's several different ones that I started to get into during the big band period. Um, so when it comes to music, my tastes are very eclectic, as I just mentioned. Listen to just about anything. Not into the modern. I lost touch with music probably around 1993 when top 40 music decided to take a turn. That was the time that the grunge sound really started to take off. Mind you, I'm not much of a grunge person. The only two songs I was ever really to get into, ever really able to get into, I should say, was a couple by Nirvana, Come As You Are and Smells Like Teen Spirit. That was it. Um, but then after 1992 and 93 on, I started developing a love hate relationship with it. There were some that I liked, there were some that I didn't like. So, you know, I just wanted to come on here and mention the other part about me. You know, I really went through a lot coming up with what I just said. And then if you look back on yesterday's video as well, it's all one big ball of wax. But that's what has made me mentally older than what I actually am because of what I dealt with. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to put that out there. Be on the lookout on Recipe Tuesday at 6 a.m. You're going to have a pretty good recipe I think you guys will like. And we'll just go from there. I hope all of you have a great remainder of your day, evening, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye.